Well, stealing livestock might be embedded in the national psyche with everyone singing Waltzing Matilda, but for farmers, it's a $100 million annual problem. Local software company Zedware has developed cattle recognition technology designed to prevent rustling and identify individual animals. That's right, all cows do not look the same. So to explain the livestock selfies and how they're the future, Zedware founder and CEO Dr. Phillip Zada joins me now. Dr. Phil, great to have you on the show. This sounds really, really cool. Tell us a little bit about the software that you've developed.
Yeah, so essentially it's an AI-powered livestock image recognition technology. So the idea is that we're starting off with cattle. So you take photos of cattle while they're in a crush. Each cattle actually has a unique facial feature similar to a human thumbprint. And the idea is that once the cattle is registered, then using just a single image, you can recognize the cattle even along the same family, the same breed, within I think our current stat is at 99.46% accuracy.
Wow, so the product is called Stoktake. Tell us about why and how it all came about.
Yes, well, like personally myself, I've been all about Australian innovation. When I did my PhD, we did an Australian first research study about, having an online voting system in Australia using your phone, and I was successfully able to do that. And I've always kept in touch with the academic world, and I've always trying to find the gap that you can fill between the two, between the corporate and the academic, because there's a lot of knowledge to be gained from both. And then, I basically stumbled upon this research. It's actually been research that's been done since the 90s, where a professor used to take a sketch paper and sketch cattle face to prove that it is unique. And from there, I just saw an opportunity to say, hey, we can actually do something here. When I did some more research, found out there wasn't much in the commercialized space. I figured this is something we can do.
Well, the interesting thing is, of course, up until now, we've been doing things like ear tags and RFID and, of course, branding cattle. But none of those have been particularly foolproof. You can't really get, I suppose, change your face when you're a cow.
Yeah, so those technologies are really great, and it's obviously each one of those technologies have two big considerations. You've got the time and money, and then you have the manipulation, or as a farmer put the other day, the mutilation of the cattle, just to be able to avoid that. So things like e-tags can be ripped out. The RFID can actually be ripped out as well. And farmers can't invest in more and more technology because, cattle get stolen. The average price of a head of cattle at the moment is about, I think, $3,700. So it's quite costly when they do lose the cows.
Because I think it's about 30,000 a year are stolen, which is an astonishing number.
Oh, yeah, it is. And that's, funnily enough, Dr. Cole Monroe, who's at the University of New England, just recently released a paper on research and found that only 44% of farmers who've had their cattle stolen report it, because A, it's hard to prove once the branding has been mutilated or the ear tags have been taken out, or two, some farmers who actually have, I think the number is less than 300 head of cattle, don't actually even use any of those mechanisms because they figure it's too hard, costs too much.
Okay, so where to for Zedware? I understand you're building this database. You want to get it to about 150,000 head of cattle. What's next for the build out of Stoktake?
So the really good thing about our product is that we're actually ready for pilot phase. With our pilot, we budgeted for 150,000 head of cattle. As you know, there's about 25 million, I think, the latest number of cattle in Australia. So we're basically going out to market now to find farmers and producers who want to actually come and help us develop our product for free so they can use it in return. And we're also looking for funding as well.
Okay, well, let's ask a little bit about those numbers. Who you're looking for, venture capital or just some investors in ag tech that can help you with the product?
Pretty much a mixed bag, really. So we've applied for government grants as well that we're currently pending at the moment, just about, bringing tech into the country. And we're also just anybody, we've got open door if you can help us out and interested. But one of the things that we do want to stress is that we are looking for investors who actually want to keep the technology being developed in Australia. We've had people reach out to us who said, hey, let's take the development offshore. We said, nope, we want to keep it in this country because personally and part of Zedware's culture is we want to be an Australian first development company.
Well, there you go. That's a rallying cry to Waltzing Matilda if ever I heard one. Before I let you go, let's think about the long term on this. Does this involve something like Stoktake becoming part of a national database so that when you do go to market and you're in Wagga Wagga or perhaps you're up in Lismore or Casino at the stock sales, that each cow is scanned again to check that the seller is the owner of the cow?
Exactly right. So that's definitely one of the avenues we're looking at, where we build a national database, because you hear stories all the time. Recent one I just read about where cattle were stolen in Victoria and shipped up to Northern Territory, stripped and sold. Where we want to actually have cameras sitting there in the crush or in the line that potentially take a video feed and immediately identify if a cattle's been reported as stolen or not belonging to the preset owner.
It's kind of like Minority Report for cattle at this point in time. Dr. Phillip Zada, we love having you on the show today. Thanks for sharing your story. People can read more about it on startupdaily.net this afternoon. Look forward to talking with you again after that successful capital raise. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.